The train platform was alive with chaos that morning, the kind of chaos that only exists in a city that never slows down. Steel wheels screamed against the tracks, footsteps echoed like thunder, and voices blended into a dull roar of urgency. Marcus Brown stood quietly near the yellow safety line, his eyes scanning every corner of the station. He wasn't just a security guard, he was the calm in the middle of that storm. At 42, with broad shoulders, a neat uniform, and eyes that carried both fatigue and wisdom, Marcus had seen more of the city's ugliness than most could imagine. He didn't talk much. He didn't need to. His presence spoke for him, disciplined, alert, dependable. That morning, though, something about the energy on the platform felt wrong. It was the way people were rushing, bumping, and shoving without awareness. The train was approaching faster than usual. And then it happened. A shriek. A flash of white fabric. A body tipping forward. A young woman, no more than 27, had lost her balance at the very edge of the platform. Her heel caught the groove. Her arms flailed, and before anyone could react, she was seconds from falling into the path of the oncoming train. Marcus didn't think. He just moved. With a burst of instinct, he lunged forward, grabbed her by the waist, and pulled her back hard against him, his boots scraping the concrete just as the train tore past in a blur of wind and sound. The woman gasped, trembling in his arms, clutching his uniform like it was her last tether to life. For a moment, the entire station froze. Then came the applause, the shouts of "He saved her," the clapping, the gasps, the flashes from phones. Marcus simply nodded and stepped back, his chest rising and falling slowly as the woman tried to find her footing again. "You're safe," he said softly, his voice calm. "Just take a breath." She looked up at him, eyes wide and glassy with shock. I could have died." He gave a faint smile. "You didn't. That's what matters." People surrounded them, taking videos, cheering, patting Marcus on the back. Someone called him a hero. He didn't feel like one. He was just doing his job, the same job he'd been doing for years. He escorted the woman to the bench, made sure she was steady, and waited until she'd calmed down. Then, quietly, he went back to his post, as if nothing extraordinary had happened. By noon, the video had spread online. Security guard saves woman from oncoming train. Heroic act at metro station. Headlines blazed across local blogs and social media. For the first time in a long while, Marcus's name was being spoken with admiration. The station manager called him into the office, shook his hand, and thanked him for outstanding bravery. Reporters came by asking for interviews. He politely declined. He didn't like the spotlight. That evening, as he walked home through the fading light, Marcus smiled faintly to himself. Not because he wanted fame, but because, just maybe, his kids would see him on the news and feel proud. He lived in a small apartment on the south side, simple, clean, humble. Pictures of his 2 kids hung on the wall. They stayed with his ex-wife most weeks, but he called them every night. "Daddy, are you really on TV?" his daughter Layla asked that night over the phone. He chuckled. "Looks like it, baby girl." "You saved somebody?" "I just helped someone who needed help. That's what heroes do." Marcus paused, smiling quietly. "Maybe, but I just did what I had to do." He went to bed that night feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. The peace didn't last. 2 days later, Marcus was called back into the manager's office. The tone was different this time, tense, cold. "Marcus," the manager said, not meeting his eyes. "We received a complaint." Marcus frowned. "A complaint?" "It's about the incident with the woman you saved." Marcus blinked. "What about it?" The manager shifted uneasily. "She claims you touched her inappropriately during the rescue." Silence. Marcus's jaw tightened. "What?" "She said you grabbed her in a way that made her uncomfortable." Marcus leaned back, disbelief flickering across his face. "She was falling into a train. I grabbed her waist to pull her back. What was I supposed to do? Ask for permission first?" "I understand how this sounds," the manager said carefully, "but she's filed a formal complaint. We have to conduct an internal review." Marcus exhaled sharply, anger creeping up his throat. "So I save her life, and this is what I get?" "I'm sorry, Marcus. You're being placed on temporary suspension, pending investigation." He stood up slowly, his fists clenched at his sides. "Do you know how many people were there that day? How many cameras were filming?" The manager sighed. "I know, but until this clears up, My hands are tied." Marcus walked out without another word. By evening, the story had flipped. Hero security guard under investigation for misconduct. Woman alleges inappropriate touch during rescue. The same media that called him a hero 2 days ago now painted him as something else entirely. The comments were brutal. Some called him a predator. Others said, "Why couldn't he just pull her by the arm?" As if they'd ever been in that kind of moment. A second from death, Marcus stopped checking his phone. His neighbors whispered. The other guards at the station didn't return his calls. Even his ex-wife texted, asking, "Is it true?" He didn't respond. Days passed in silence. The city moved on, and Marcus, once celebrated, was now invisible again, except for the shadow of accusation that followed him everywhere. 3 weeks later, he was summoned for a formal hearing. The panel sat behind a long table, their expressions sterile. They played the CCTV footage. There it was, the rescue, from every angle. The woman stumbled, Marcus lunged, pulled her back, and held her for less than 2 seconds before releasing her. It was clear, obvious even, that there was no misconduct. But the accusation had already done its damage. The lead investigator cleared his throat. "Mr. Brown, based on our review, we find no evidence of inappropriate behavior. You are hereby reinstated." Marcus nodded slowly. "So that's it? You're cleared." He gave a dry laugh. "Cleared, but not restored." The investigator frowned. "I don't follow." Marcus looked up at them. His voice steady, but tired. "You took my dignity, my peace, and my reputation. You can't give that back." He stood and walked out. Marcus returned to work a week later. The cheers were gone. The smiles were forced. People said, "Hey, good to have you back," but their eyes said something else. "We don't know if we believe you." He kept to himself. Did his rounds quietly. Helped passengers as always, but never too close. One afternoon, as he stood near the ticket counter, he saw her again. The woman he had saved. She hesitated before approaching. "Marcus." He turned slowly, his expression unreadable. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean for things to go that far." He said nothing. "I was scared," she continued. "People kept asking me questions. I didn't know how to explain it." Marcus stared at her, not with hate, but with a sadness so deep it silenced her. "You know what fear looks like?" he said quietly. "It's when you're 1 second from death, and someone pulls you back. You were never scared of me, ma'am. You were scared of what people would think if they saw a black man holding you." Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't mean to." He raised a hand gently. "You don't have to explain. You've already done enough." He turned and walked away, his footsteps echoing against the tiled floor. Weeks passed. Life moved on, at least for everyone else. Marcus worked his shifts quietly, avoiding attention, avoiding cameras. He no longer looked at the crowd the same way. He used to see people, now he saw judgment. He used to see gratitude, now he saw suspicion. But he still showed up every single day. One night, as he walked home under the dim streetlights, he stopped by a convenience store. The clerk, an older man who'd seen him on the news months ago, smiled gently. "You're that guy who saved that woman, right?" Marcus hesitated. "Yeah, I guess that was me." The man nodded. "You did a good thing. Don't let them take that from you." Marcus gave a faint smile. "They already did." He left with a quiet sigh, the words lingering in the cold air behind him. Months later, on a quiet evening shift, a teenage boy approached him at the station. "Hey, you're Marcus Brown, right?" "The guard from the video?" Marcus looked at him cautiously. "Yeah." "Why?" "My dad showed me that clip," the boy said, smiling. "He said you saved that lady's life. I just wanted to say, you're a hero, man." No matter what they said after, Marcus felt something in his chest shift, a small spark of warmth in a place long frozen. "Thank you," he said softly. "That means more than you know." The boy nodded and disappeared into the crowd. Marcus watched the trains come and go, the wind brushing his face. Maybe the world didn't see the truth. Maybe it never would. But in that moment, he realized something. Integrity isn't about the applause you get. It's about what you do when no one's watching, and how you carry yourself when everyone's against you. The city lights shimmered across the platform as Marcus stood alone. He had saved a life, lost his name, and reclaimed his peace in silence. He would never be called a hero again, at least not by the headlines. But for the people who still believed in decency, in courage, and in quiet strength, Marcus Brown was something far more enduring than a headline. He was proof that truth doesn't need recognition. It just needs time and heart. And as the next train roared past, the wind swept through his uniform, and Marcus closed his eyes. Not as a man accused, not as a man forgotten, but as a man who, despite it all, never stopped doing the right thing. If you believe dignity should never be up for debate, make your voice count. Like this video, share it everywhere, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what moment hit you hardest. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more stories where arrogance collapses and justice rises.